Since time immemorial, there have been stories of houses and places that seem to hide secrets beyond human understanding. However, the most disturbing thing is not only the presence of these enigmatic places, but also the missing people who have ventured to enter them and who have never been seen again. These stories are not just urban legends, but in many cases the stories come from people who claim to have experienced inexplicable phenomena. The house we are talking about today is located in a small town, away from tourist routes and far from big cities. A house that, according to locals, is not only known for its disturbing architecture, but also for the disappearances of those who dared to enter its interior. The first thing that is known about this house is that it is built on land that, according to ancient stories, has been the scene of tragic events. Former residents of the town spoke of its origin as a building with a curse linked to a family that had mysteriously disappeared, leaving behind only their belongings and a terrifying silence. Every generation in the town heard rumors of strange noises coming from within on the darkest nights, but no brave man dared to investigate until some strangers, seeking adventure or trying to discover the truth, approached the house. It is not known exactly what happened to these people, but their disappearances are not simple coincidences. Their stories have become part of local folklore, creating an atmosphere of terror that lasts to this day. The last case that was recorded was approximately 15 years ago, when a group of young tourists decided to explore the abandoned house. After several hours of walking inside the construction, the group lost contact with the outside world. Nobody heard from them again. Local authorities launched an exhaustive search, but the investigations did not lead to any concrete results. Those who were part of the expedition were swallowed by an unfathomable mystery, as if the house itself had absorbed them. The town, who had never before witnessed such a disturbing event, began to fear that the house was connected to something beyond human understanding. The missing people were the last in a long series of people who, for unknown reasons, decided to explore the house and never returned. For those who believe in the supernatural, the disappearance of people is not an accident. Many claim that the house possesses a dark force that attracts those who venture near it. There are those who claim that a malevolent presence resides within, waiting for the perfect moment to take those who dare to cross its threshold. Over the years, numerous people have reported seeing strange shadows through broken windows, lights flickering inexplicably, and whispers coming from deep within the house. The townspeople who once lived near the house relate how some nights they felt watched, as if someone or something was lurking. According to some theories, the house acts as a portal to another plane of existence, a place where time and space become distorted. Those who have tried to enter claim to have experienced feelings of disorientation, as if the walls lengthened or the doors vanished when trying to reach them. The objects inside the house seem to move on their own, and the rooms are never the same twice. People who have returned after entering, although they did not disappear completely, describe an indescribable feeling of loss of time, as if they had been inside the house for hours, but when they left, the clock indicated that only 1 minute had passed. The people began to distrust the house, and rumors about its supernatural power increased. Some mentioned that the house was built on an old indigenous cemetery, which could explain the strange events. Others point out that the house was designed with dark intentions, as if its architects had wanted to create a refuge for forces that do not belong to this world. Whatever the truth, the reality is that the events surrounding the house remain an unsolved mystery. Local authorities have concluded that the house is best left alone, as all attempts to unravel its mystery have been unsuccessful. The only evidence that remains are the testimonies of those who dared to enter and who never returned. The disappearance of people in places like this not only leaves unanswered questions, but also opens a field of interpretations that range from the paranormal to the psychological. What makes a person decide to enter a house known for its sinister reputation? The testimonies of those who have survived their experiences in the house coincide on one key point. They all claim to have felt an irresistible attraction to the place, as if a force was calling them from within. Some scientists try to explain this phenomenon from a psychological perspective, suggesting that intrigue and morbidity about what is forbidden can activate an emotional response that leads people to make reckless decisions. However, proponents of the paranormal theory maintain that something beyond the human mind is at play. We speak of a residual energy, a type of spiritual magnetism that attracts those with a predisposition to the inexplicable. There are those who believe that the souls of the people who disappeared in the house are trapped there, and that their spirits are trying to guide new victims to the same fate. In this context, the house would not be just a building, but a living entity, fed by the energies of the missing and those who are attracted to it. Some survivors of encounters with similar houses have stated that, upon entering, they felt as if time dilated and space became vague, as if reality itself was fading before his eyes. It is possible that disappearing houses are not only a phenomenon of physical space, but also a distortion of human perception. Ultimately, the question remains the same. What happens inside these houses, and why are the people who venture into them never seen again? The mystery persists, and with it, a disturbing feeling that something deeper and darker is happening beyond human understanding. Throughout history, not just in this small, secluded town, there have been numerous stories of houses that seem to absorb those who dare to enter. These cases are not isolated or exclusive to a single place. In several countries around the world, there are urban legends about abandoned places that lure people with the promise of discovering the unknown, only to swallow them in the silence of nothingness. In places like Eastern Europe, South America, and even some areas of the United States, there are disturbing stories of houses where those who dare to enter are never seen again. Is it possible that these places share some connection beyond what we perceive? More recent studies have noted that some places, especially those with a dark history, seem to have a particular energy that attracts vulnerable individuals. The concept of disappearing houses is neither a recent invention nor a modern trend. Since the Middle Ages, there has been talk of cursed houses, places where supernatural forces, whether through demonic pacts or ancient sacrifices, had dominion. In the 19th century, multiple accounts were recorded of people who, upon entering abandoned mansions or uninhabited houses, simply disappeared without a trace. Although scientific explanations have attempted to disprove such claims, a satisfactory explanation has never been found for the many unsolved cases. One of the most chilling examples comes from the ancient homes of villagers in Eastern Europe, where oral accounts have always warned young people about the dangers of approaching certain places, especially those with a history tainted by tragedy or violence. On many occasions, disappearances occurred when the individual entered alone, which fuels the belief that the house requires its victim to appear unaccompanied in order to claim it. Even in the modern era, reports of unexplained disappearances involving houses remain a constant. In many of these cases, local authorities have been forced to confront a reality that is difficult to explain. There are no traces, no physical evidence, just a feeling of emptiness in the place. Investigations into these houses tend to yield conflicting results, with some people claiming to have experienced distortions in space and time, while others simply claim to have witnessed intense paranormal activity. Some psychologists have suggested that people's disappearance could be the result of a phenomenon known as self-hypnosis, in which people, when in a highly suggestive place, can lose track of themselves, entering a trance-like state that leads them to disconnect from reality and disappear in an altered state of consciousness. While some maintain that disappearing houses are simply urban legends fueled by superstition, science has not remained indifferent to these mysterious events. Over the years, many attempts have been made to explain what happens in these places from a scientific perspective. Some physics and neuroscience experts have suggested that the phenomena that occur in these houses may be related to a type of anomalous electromagnetic field. It has been proven that certain areas of the Earth, especially those near ancient mineral deposits, can generate interference in natural electromagnetic fields that affect human perception, creating feelings of disorientation, anxiety, and in some cases, hallucinations. According to this theory, people who enter these houses would be subjected to a distortion of space-time, which could cause them to become disoriented and lose track of reality. In addition, there are theories that suggest that the houses that disappear could be located in areas with high seismic activity or where the tectonic plates are unstable. Some researchers have proposed that these types of seismic activities could create rifts in space-time, so that the places where these disappearances occur could be connected to a type of small black hole or time vortex, causing people who enter them to be transported to another time or dimension. Although these ideas are considered by many to be marginal theories, there are those who continue to seek answers in the field of quantum physics and multiverse theories, where it is speculated that these houses could be acting as portals to other planes of existence. However, what worries authorities and experts on the subject most is the lack of tangible evidence to support these claims. No bodies, signs of struggle, or traces have been found to suggest that the people who disappeared in these houses had any type of physical interaction before their disappearance. Investigations in many cases have stopped due to lack of evidence and the inability to explain the phenomena from a rational perspective. The few survivors who have managed to leave these places have provided testimonies that are as varied as they are strange, but many of them agree on one key point. They have all experienced sensations of disconnection from reality, as if they were moving through a dream or a distorted space where the laws of time and physics simply do not apply. The existence of houses like these not only affects the people who visit them, but has a profound cultural impact on nearby communities. In the case of the town where the disappearing house is located, the story of the disappearances has become a fundamental part of the local identity. The townspeople, many of whom have grown up with stories of missing people, develop an underlying fear that affects their daily lives. Oral tradition plays an important role in transmitting these stories, and each generation keeps alive the collective memory of those who never returned. The youngest, although often skeptical of paranormal stories, cannot help but feel a disturbing sensation when they pass near the house. Disappearing houses become landmarks, symbols of the unknown, representing both danger and human curiosity. From a psychological point of view, houses of this type have a significant impact on the way people perceive their environment. Studies have shown that living near places associated with death, suffering, or the unexplained can have effects on individuals' mental health, fueling irrational fears and anxiety. In some cases, people living near these places experience a constant feeling of discomfort, which can lead to anxiety disorders or even paranoia. The fact that the town has witnessed so many mysterious disappearances has generated an atmosphere of distrust, and many inhabitants prefer to avoid the house completely, avoiding even talking about it. Instead of a simply empty house, it has been transformed into a symbol of the occult, a constant reminder that there are forces in the world that cannot be controlled or understood. For those who have survived close encounters with houses like this, the emotional impact can last a lifetime. Some people develop post-traumatic disorders after experiencing unexplained phenomena, while others find themselves inexplicably drawn to the mystery, returning to the place again and again in search of answers. The missing houses, not only represent a physical danger, but are a challenge to human reason, testing the boundaries between reality and the supernatural. It is a constant struggle between the known and the unknown, between the logical and the inexplicable. In the end, disappearing houses become a haunting reminder that not everything we know is under our control, and that there are mysteries in the world that we may never understand. Disappearances in seemingly vanishing houses have not only been a recurring theme in the accounts of those who have lived near them, but have also sparked the interest of many students of the inexplicable. Over the decades, various researchers have postulated various theories to try to explain what happens inside these places. But one of the most popular is the idea of a dimensional door. According to this theory, the houses in which people disappear are not simply empty or cursed houses, but could function as portals to other dimensions or alternate realities. These houses, in their construction, could have been located on points where the Earth's energy lines cross in an anomalous way, creating a fissure between the world we know and other worlds, dimensions or parallel realities. The concept of a dimensional door is not new in science fiction, but it has slowly infiltrated studies of paranormal phenomena. If we accept the idea that space and time are not constant, but can be altered by certain forces, then it is plausible that some houses may have the ability to distort these dimensions. According to theorists of this hypothesis, people who enter these houses can become trapped in a temporal or dimensional gap, where the rules of physics and logic do not apply in the same way as in the physical world in which we live. As if upon crossing the threshold of the door of the house, these people move to an alternative reality or become trapped in a time loop from which they cannot escape. The testimonies of those who have tried to enter and return from houses like these are disturbing. Several people who managed to get out after being trapped by what they describe as a void or a distortion of space mention that time seemed to not exist inside those houses. What could have been an hour was actually a full day, or vice versa. This alteration of temporal perception could be related to physical theories that suggest that the speed of light and gravity can be manipulated under certain conditions, affecting the way we experience reality. However, these ideas have not been scientifically verified and remain just theories, but people who have lived these experiences seem to agree that what they experienced in those places was beyond any rational explanation. What is most disturbing is that some researchers claim that this phenomenon could not only be accidental. According to some studies, the houses that disappear could have been built with the purpose of being doors, as if they were experimentation centers to learn more about the interaction between parallel worlds. This theory has been rejected by many, but remains one of the most fascinating. Is it possible that there are forces that play with dimensions and keep us out of secrets bigger than we could imagine? Beyond the physical mystery of the houses that disappear, there is the psychological impact that these events have on the people who have been touched by them, whether as witnesses or victims. For those who have witnessed the disappearance of a loved one or friend inside these homes, the psychological effect can be devastating. Local authorities attempting to investigate these cases often face the trauma and anguish of families who in many cases cannot get clear answers. Missing people leave an irreparable void, not only because their loved ones can never find their whereabouts, but because witnesses to disappearances also experience a kind of emotional void. The inability to understand what happened leaves them trapped in a spiral of existential and psychological doubts. In the case of survivors, many affirm that the experiences lived inside these houses have permanently marked them. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, is common among those who have witnessed unexplained phenomena. People affected by these events often experience recurring nightmares, flashbacks, and feelings of irrational fear that persist long after they have left the scene. The nature of the experience, which appears to transcend the physical, can profoundly alter the human psyche, causing even survivors to lose the ability to trust their own perception of reality. Those who have managed to escape from the house also mention a feeling of derealization, as if their mind had been trapped in an intermediate zone between reality and the impossible. What is most alarming is the way in which these phenomena affect the community at large. The villagers who live near the abandoned house often express a growing fear of the unknown, and the stories are passed down from generation to generation. Children who grow up with these legends often develop irrational fears as they approach adolescence. Even those who have not had direct contact with the disappearing houses are affected by the aura of mystery and terror that hangs over the place. Belief in the paranormal becomes more palpable, and people tend to avoid any mention of the house or refuse to enter nearby places for fear of what might happen. This fear manifests itself in different ways. Some avoid talking about the house, while others feel an irrational need to get closer to it, as if the desire to unravel the unknown attracted them even more. In certain cases, village children have been known to defy warnings and venture close to home, driven by curiosity and fascination with the occult. However, adults, knowing the story and the dangers, do their best to avoid talking about it, because they recognize the psychological damage that such stories can inflict on young and vulnerable minds. The mystery surrounding disappearances in houses like this poses an even greater challenge for forensic science. Often, investigators who arrive at the scene find a lack of clear physical evidence. In some cases, traces of missing people disappear as quickly as if they were never there. The houses show no obvious signs of having been broken into, and the objects inside remain almost unchanged, as if the house itself had absorbed the traces of visitors. Forensic teams have tried to find clues in the surrounding area, but in many cases, nothing more than vague traces of those who entered are found, as if the house itself were drunk with the ability to erase all evidence. Tracking dogs, used to follow clues to missing people, often appear disoriented, unable to track the person after they enter the house. This phenomenon has baffled even criminology and forensic criminology experts, who cannot find a logical explanation for disappearances without a trace. It is as if the house itself is designed to strip people of their physical existence in the world. Despite the advanced technology and methods used in criminal investigation, cases of disappearances in these homes continue to be an inexplicable challenge. Forensic scientists are increasingly concerned about the lack of evidence, as each disappearance is an enigma that cannot be solved with the tools available. The mystery behind these houses is not only affecting the families of the missing people, but also the scientific community. What really happens inside these houses? Are we dealing with phenomena that defy the logic of our understanding of space, time, and human existence? And most importantly, why does it seem that houses have the power to erase all evidence of what happens inside them? These questions remain unanswered, but they continue to fuel interest in unraveling what lies behind the walls of these mysterious places. There are multiple theories about what really happens inside the disappearing houses, and each of them opens up a range of possibilities that range from the most rational to the most extraordinary. Science has not yet been able to offer a conclusive explanation, and that is why many people continue to search for answers. Some of the possible causes that have been proposed include natural phenomena, such as magnetic vortexes, space-time distortions, and other physical phenomena that we do not fully understand. These theories, although fascinating, are often dismissed by those seeking more concrete answers, but they remain an area of study for physicists and scientists around the world. One of the most intriguing theories is the one regarding magnetic vortices. According to some scientists, there are points on Earth that, due to the arrangement of certain minerals or natural elements, could generate an anomalous magnetic field. This phenomenon not only affects the perception of people who are in these places, but could also lead them to experience alterations in their consciousness, or in more extreme cases, to become trapped in a distorted space-time. Magnetic vortexes have been studied in various parts of the world, and some geologists have argued that these phenomena may be responsible for unexplained disappearances in houses that appear not to exist physically or that move in space. These types of anomalies could alter human perception of location and time, causing people to enter states of confusion, disorientation, and even distress. Some testimonies from people who have managed to leave these houses after having disappeared claim that they experienced a sensation of total derealization, as if they were floating in a parallel dimension where the limits of conventional physics did not apply. What once seemed like a familiar environment was transformed into something strange, as if the rules of the world they lived in were fading away. Some have even spoken of hearing echoes from the future, or experiencing flashes of what could be another plane of existence, fueling the idea that these houses are not only linked to terrestrial phenomena, but could be interfering with alternate dimensions. On the other hand, some researchers also point to quantum theories, which suggest that certain points in our world can be portals to other universes or dimensions, although this idea is still very speculative and lacks solid evidence. According to this theory, the houses that disappear could be located in places where space-time is weakened or altered, creating a rift that connects our universe with other possible ones. Those who enter these places could, according to proponents of this theory, become trapped in these wormholes or time portals and be transported to alternate realities where time and the laws of physics do not behave as we know them. Fear is one of the most powerful human emotions, and when it comes to houses that disappear, this feeling is amplified even more. People who are drawn to these places do so driven by an inexplicable desire to face the unknown, although in many cases, this impulse turns out to be fatal. Human psychology shows that individuals who seek to explore these places carry a deep desire to experience something beyond what everyday reality can offer them. The attraction to the unknown and the inexplicable is a common characteristic in human nature, and in many cases, this curiosity becomes a driving force to enter dangerous places, such as the houses that have been the subject of so many strange stories. Psychologists explain that this fascination with the paranormal may be linked to the need of human beings to find answers to questions that have no explanation in the tangible world. People who seek these experiences often do so to find something transcendental, something that makes them feel more connected to the universe, to the mystery of existence, and to the unknown. However, this desire to find truth in the inexplicable can be both fascinating and dangerous. Disappearing houses represent the extreme of this longing, as they promise a unique experience, but they also offer a very high price: total disappearance. Fear, for its part, plays a fundamental role in creating this desire. In many cases, people are attracted to the idea of facing their own fear, of defying death and the unknown. The psychology of fear has been widely studied, and it is known that one of the main human motivations for engaging in extreme activities is the possibility of experiencing controlled fear, as happens in horror movies. However, the difference between what you see on a screen and what really happens when facing the unknown is abysmal. While in the movies, fear is just an illusion, in the stories of disappearing houses, the fear is palpable and real. The attraction to these types of places is not only based on curiosity, but on a deep desire to challenge the impossible, to confront what seems to be the limit of human understanding. Over the years, disappearing houses have become an integral part of popular culture. Stories about these mysterious houses have been adapted and told in many ways, from movies and books to urban legends passed down by word of mouth. These stories continue to feed the collective imagination, and each new story about a house that seems to swallow its victims becomes a media phenomenon. The attraction to these places goes beyond real phenomena, since popular culture often creates its own interpretation of what happens in these places. Horror movies and television shows have played a crucial role in constructing this myth, exaggerating details and presenting fictional versions that amplify the mystery and terror. The interesting thing is that in many cases, these fictional stories have influenced public perception of real places. The stories of houses that disappear are mixed with urban legends, creating a collective narrative that stops being just a local anecdote and becomes a universal story. The elements described in these narratives, isolation, thick silence, and the feeling of being watched, are the same in almost all stories, regardless of place or culture of origin. This phenomenon has given rise to a subculture within horror known as psychological horror, which plays with the deepest fears of human beings: insecurity, abandonment, and disappearance. In addition, the phenomenon of missing houses has become a tourist attraction in some places. There are maps, groups, and online forums that promote visits to these houses, turning them into destinations for those seeking the adrenaline of facing the inexplicable. Despite the obvious risks, many people are attracted to the idea of facing the unknown and living their own paranormal experience. The mix between fascination and terror has turned these places into points of interest, which in turn has generated more stories and more people willing to enter the mystery. In recent decades, a phenomenon has grown in parallel with the popularity of missing houses: the hunt for the inexplicable by so-called urban explorers. And this group of people, passionate about investigating abandoned and hidden places, is attracted to the same myths that fuel disappearances. Houses that have been subject to mysterious disappearances become one of their main targets. Urban explorers, armed with cameras and recorders, seek to discover what others have failed to do, unravel the mystery behind these seemingly impossible places. Although many do it for the thrill of adventure, there are also those who seek to obtain tangible proof of the supernatural. Urban explorers have documented countless stories of houses appearing to change shape, ceasing to exist on maps, or exhibiting strange phenomena such as unexplained noises, apparitions, or unexplained movement of objects. These testimonies, although not scientific, are still proof that deep down, the mystery is still alive and defies the logic of those who try to give a rational answer. The videos and stories of these explorers, often accompanied by shocking images, have been shared massively on social networks, which has further contributed to the legend of the missing houses. For paranormal experts, the growing popularity of these investigations has opened new doors to understanding the phenomena of the disappearing house. Through these testimonies and recordings, some researchers are beginning to analyze common patterns in the experiences, looking for possible scientific or paranormal explanations. Although the evidence is limited, the search for the inexplicable remains a fascinating part of modern culture, and disappearing houses remain a central theme in this search. Since ancient times, missing houses have been part of human culture, although in ways that vary depending on the time and historical context. In early civilizations, houses that faded from view were seen as magical places, often related to gods or supernatural forces. In ancient Egypt, for example, pyramids were built in the belief that they were portals to the afterlife, and some tombs were said to disappear from view entirely, taking with them the secrets of the pharaohs. In the Middle Ages, haunted and cursed houses were common in European folklore. Many medieval castles and mansions were surrounded by myths that spoke of mysterious disappearances. The Church, which for centuries was the most powerful institution in Europe, played an important role in the creation of these myths, since in many cases the cursed houses were used as an example to warn about sin and dark forces. At that time, the disappearances of people inside houses were seen as divine punishments or as a sign of the presence of demons. These stories were integrated into collective thinking, which consolidated the belief that some houses were protected by forces beyond human control. As science advanced, the missing houses began to be seen in a new light. In the 19th century, the rise of spiritualism and paranormal phenomena was an important part of popular culture. Belief in ghosts and trapped spirits began to spread, and many abandoned places or places with tragic history were considered the home of supernatural beings. The 20th century, with the rise of technology and scientific advances, tried to put an end to these superstitions, but in many cases, modernity failed to dispel the myths that surrounded these places. Missing houses continued to be a recurring theme in paranormal investigations, with groups of ghost hunters exploring old mansions in search of evidence of the unexplainable. Today, the story of the missing houses lives on in popular culture, adapting to modern times. Fear and fascination with the unknown continue to draw people to explore these places, whether out of curiosity, challenge, or the promise of discovering what lies hidden in the shadows. And although science still has no definitive answers about what happens in these places, the story of the disappearing houses continues as an enigma that challenges our understanding of reality. In the digital age, technology has radically changed the way we interact with the mysteries of the world. Disappearing houses, once the preserve of oral legends and written accounts, are now accessible to everyone through technology. Social media, online videos, and forums dedicated to the paranormal have allowed these locations to be documented and discussed globally, bringing the mystery of the missing houses to a much wider audience. The rise of horror videos and live streaming has taken the idea of the disappearing house to a whole new level. Today, many people travel to these places in search of an authentic experience, hoping to document what happens inside and share it with an online audience. These videos, which often include elements such as strange noises, apparitions, or even testimonies from those who have had close encounters, quickly go viral, further fueling the fascination with these places. However, technology has also allowed for greater research and more detailed analysis of the phenomena that occur in these houses. Advances in digital photography, high-quality audio recorders, and thermal cameras have provided tools to capture phenomena that might otherwise have gone unnoticed. Paranormal investigators now have access to technologies that allow them to study missing houses more systematically and scientifically, although answers remain elusive. However, despite all this advanced technology, many of the testimonies and recordings fail to offer clear explanations, which only fuels the mystery further. Technology has also changed the way people perceive the possibility that houses may be connected to other dimensions or unexplained phenomena. The wormhole theory, for example, has gained popularity in online discussions, with many people convinced that missing houses are portals to other realities. Although these ideas are not supported by scientific evidence, the power of technology and social media has allowed these theories to spread widely, giving rise to new beliefs and phenomena within contemporary culture. Furthermore, the use of technology has allowed the creation of communities of people interested in investigating these places and sharing their experiences. Urban explorers can now connect with others through online platforms, share maps of abandoned houses, and discuss their investigations in real time. This has transformed the way missing houses are perceived, going from being simple horror stories to being an active community of people seeking the truth behind these phenomena. Technology, therefore, has not only helped spread the mystery, but has contributed to creating a new subculture that is deeply connected to the search for the inexplicable. One of the oldest and most primary emotions of human beings is fear. Throughout evolution, fear has played a crucial role in survival, allowing humans to respond quickly to threats and dangers. In the context of missing houses, fear plays a fundamental role in the way people relate to these places. Stories of disappearances and unexplained phenomena not only fuel insatiable curiosity, but also trigger a defense mechanism in people who are attracted to the house. Fear of the unknown is one of the most primitive and universal responses of human beings. Disappearing houses are the epitome of the unknown, as they represent what we cannot control or understand. The fact that these houses are not only mysterious, but have also been responsible for the disappearance of so many people, makes fear a primary feeling for those who approach them. Survivors of encounters with these houses, who have experienced strange phenomena, often describe a feeling of paralysis or an inability to act on what they see or feel. This fear response, often referred to as fear paralysis, is a natural reaction that comes from the survival instincts of the human brain. However, fear also has a fascinating component. While many people avoid these places out of fear of what they might find, others are irremediably drawn to the idea of facing danger and discovering the truth behind the unknown. This duality between fear and attraction to the unknown is what keeps the mystery of the disappearing houses alive. Humans have an inherent need to explore the unknown, and this desire, although risky, can lead people into dangerous situations. The relationship between fear and human survival is complex, and in the case of missing houses, fear not only represents an obstacle, but also a powerful motivation that drives people to delve into the unknown. The mystery of the disappearing houses not only has an impact on the people directly involved in the cases, but also on the collective psychology of the societies that witness these phenomena. Over the years, stories of houses that seem to devour people have been passed down from generation to generation, creating a kind of collective memory that shapes the perception of the paranormal in local cultures. The fear and fascination for these places are not only emotional, but also social. The community, by sharing these stories, forms a network of beliefs and assumptions that deeply affect individual mindsets. One of the most interesting phenomena that has emerged around missing houses is how they become part of local mythology. Urban legends, which usually arise from real events or inexplicable situations, are nourished by collective emotion and expand in the popular imagination. People who hear stories of these places often believe the mystery is bigger than it really is, fueling the cycle of terror and fascination. In many cases, stories about disappearances in these houses become legends that new generations repeat without knowing if what is said is a true fact or an invention to explain the inexplicable. Over time, these legends create a distorted perception of reality, mixing superstition with logic, fear with curiosity, thus creating a breeding ground for mystery. Furthermore, the impact of these houses is not only limited to nearby communities, but also extends to global cultures, thanks to media, social networks, and entertainment. Disappearing houses have become a recurring theme in books, movies, television series, and even video games. This cultural phenomenon has allowed stories about mysterious houses to be shared worldwide, but it has also generated overexposure that desensitizes the audience. Despite the saturation of horror stories, interest in these places persists, which shows that human beings continue to seek answers to what lies beyond the visible. Social psychologists have studied how collective beliefs can shape the way a community responds to fear and the paranormal. Crowd psychology suggests that humans are more likely to believe in unexplainable phenomena when they are reinforced by the shared experience of others. The transmission of stories about missing houses can lead to the formation of a collective panic, in which people feel threatened by something that, in reality, may be a social construction rather than a real threat. This collective fear can have devastating effects on social cohesion and the way communities confront the unknown. Throughout history, the church and other religious institutions have played an important role in the interpretation of the paranormal, including the phenomenon of missing houses. In the Middle Ages and beyond, the Catholic Church was the leading authority interpreting the unknown, including mysterious disappearances from a spiritual perspective. Disappearing houses were seen as places of demonic influence or possession, and accounts of disappearances were in many cases attributed to dark forces, which could only be combated by spiritual means. The concept of cursed houses was popularized through religion, which taught that certain places were marked by the presence of evil spirits. These beliefs persisted for centuries, and the missing houses became the center of a spiritual narrative that sought to explain the inexplicable. In many cases, the church undertook rituals of exorcism and house blessing to free people from the influence of evil forces. However, these rituals rarely resulted in satisfactory explanations, and disappearances continued to occur, which only strengthened the idea that something beyond human understanding was at play. Today, the Church continues to be an important actor in the interpretation of these phenomena, although in a more moderate way. Many priests and religious leaders continue to view missing houses as places of great spiritual danger and warn their parishioners about the risks of becoming involved in these events. Despite the decline in belief in demonic forces, the idea that cursed houses are places where the trapped souls of the dead seek revenge remains a common belief in many cultures. This point of view is reflected in literature, film, and other media, where missing houses continue to be portrayed as places where evil forces operate in secret. However, some theologians and religious scholars have begun to question the way in which these houses are interpreted in the religious context. Is it possible that the missing houses are simply the result of natural phenomena or spatial anomalies, and not necessarily spiritual influences? While many religious leaders continue to claim that these houses are domains of evil, others suggest that science and spirituality are not necessarily opposites, and that the explanation for these phenomena could lie somewhere between the physical and the spiritual. Although many cases of disappearances in missing houses remain unsolved, advances in forensic science have allowed some investigators to approach these cases with new tools and methods. The use of modern technology has revolutionized the way research is carried out, providing experts with new ways to study these mysterious places. Investigations now include the use of high-definition cameras, thermal scanners, drones for aerial exploration, and motion sensors that allow monitoring of areas that would otherwise be inaccessible. One of the most used tools in the investigation of missing houses is the analysis of thermal fingerprints. These cameras can detect unusual temperature changes, which can help identify invisible presences or unexplained phenomena inside homes. Researchers who have used these cameras to study places with high paranormal activity have reported that sudden changes in temperature were recorded in certain areas of the house, suggesting the presence of unidentified energy or forces. Additionally, tracking technology has allowed investigative teams to follow the trails of missing people, although in many cases this has proven useless due to a lack of physical evidence. Despite technological advances, missing houses remain an enigma. Traditional investigative techniques, such as searches with sniffer dogs, have proven ineffective, as traces of missing people appear to disappear as quickly as if they were never there. Experts in forensic criminology and psychology have pointed out that the mystery behind these houses could be related to an alteration in space-time. Some theoretical researchers suggest that the missing houses could be located in places where physical laws do not operate in the same way as in other places, creating a type of warp zone. This could explain why people disappear without a trace, and why forensic investigations cannot find tangible evidence of what happened. Although these theories remain highly speculative, they continue to be a topic of debate and exploration among scientists and paranormal experts. Disappeared houses have evolved in popular culture, adapting to the trends and technologies of each era. In the past, stories about these places were mainly oral and were passed down from generation to generation, often with no evidence other than the testimonies of those who told them. Today, with the expansion of digital media, missing houses have taken on new dimensions. Videos and live streams have allowed more people to experience the terror of these houses, and stories that were once limited to closed circles have spread globally. Film and television have played an important role in popularizing missing houses. Films like The House on Haunted Hill and The Conjuring have taken these themes and adapted them to modern formats, helping to keep missing houses a relevant topic in contemporary culture. However, these adaptations usually exaggerate the phenomena and build a narrative that sometimes distorts the reality of these places. While original accounts often spoke of mysterious disappearances with no clear explanation, modern media depictions tend to focus more on horror and the supernatural, creating a more sensationalized image of what might actually be happening. Nowadays, missing houses have become an essential part of the horror genre. However, it is important to remember that many of these stories, although inspired by real events, are products of collective imagination and human fear of mystery and the unknown. The missing houses remain a fascinating enigma, a reminder that, despite advances in science and technology, there are still many questions about our world that remain unanswered. The mystery of the missing houses is not limited to a specific region or culture. Rather, it is a phenomenon that has parallels throughout the world. In fact, throughout history, there have been numerous mysterious disappearances that not only involve houses, but extend to other types of seemingly inexplicable places and settings. Disappearances of entire groups of people under mysterious circumstances have occurred in areas as diverse as the Bermuda Triangle, the Atacama Desert, and various areas of northern Europe, all linked by the idea of an unsolved mystery. For example, in the Bermuda Triangle, many ships and planes have disappeared without a trace, and researchers are still struggling to find a logical explanation for these events. Just like disappearing houses, people and objects disappear without a trace, defying the laws of physics and logic. In many cases, disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle have been explained as a result of extreme natural phenomena, such as uncontrollable winds or turbulence, but the stories and testimonies of survivors often suggest an influence beyond what we know, similar to the sense of altered space-time experienced in missing houses. In the case of the Atacama Desert, one of the most arid and remote places in the world, stories have emerged about groups of explorers who disappeared in its vast expanses without leaving a trace. Despite exhaustive searches, conclusive evidence of what happened to these missing people has never been found. There has been speculation about unexplained phenomena that could have played a role in these events, such as unusual magnetic fields or alterations in human perception due to extreme weather conditions. The relationship with the missing houses lies in the nature of the unknown. In both cases, people simply disappear, and the mystery has no answer. The disappearance of people in these contexts also highlights the inability of conventional science to explain what is happening. Just as missing houses defy conventional logic and physics, these other phenomena seem to indicate that there is something else at play, something beyond our current understanding. The concept of small black holes or wormholes, which could be connecting parallel dimensions or realities, has been used as an explanation for some of these disappearances. Although this theory is still highly speculative, more and more people are attracted by the possibility that disappearances are not simple accidents, but phenomena caused by factors beyond our control. The fascination with missing houses has not only been a local phenomenon or limited to small communities, but has expanded globally, becoming a tourist attraction in many countries. Places associated with the paranormal have attracted thousands of tourists seeking to live a unique experience, confront the unknown, and often capture evidence of the unexplainable. Throughout the world, abandoned houses, crumbling mansions and buildings with a dark history have become horror tourist destinations, where people venture in the hope of experiencing what is said to happen in these places. For example, in the United States, many of the oldest and most famous buildings, such as the Winchester Mystery House in California, which was built by Sarah Winchester, the widow of the inventor of the repeating rifle, have been popular tourist locations. The house, known for its endless hallways, stairs that lead nowhere, and doors that open into the void, is famous for its connection to the supernatural. The story of Sarah Winchester and her whimsical constructions, influenced by the lost souls of Winchester rifle victims, has fueled a narrative that attracts tourists seeking more than just a historical tour. The house has become a symbol of human obsession with the inexplicable and the mysterious. The rise of paranormal tourism has even led to the creation of specialized tours that allow visitors to delve inside some of the most infamous and often most dangerous houses. These tours not only focus on the history of the houses, but also the paranormal events that supposedly occur within them. Tourists pay to experience the inexplicable and capture evidence in the form of photos, audio recordings, and videos of strange phenomena. This type of tourism has generated a market that has grown enormously in recent decades, with a wide range of products and services related to the paranormal, from books and documentaries to accessories and equipment for investigations. However, this phenomenon has also attracted criticism from those who believe that paranormal tourism trivializes what should be a serious issue. Skeptics and some scholars argue that by turning the paranormal into a commercial attraction, we risk losing respect for the victims of disappearances and other tragic events that have occurred in these places. Additionally, some paranormal experts point out that mass tourism can alter the energy of these places, which can cause paranormal phenomena to intensify, which in turn increases the danger for those who dare to enter them. As studies on paranormal phenomena continue to evolve, some researchers have begun to explore new perspectives to try to understand disappearances related to mysterious houses. Quantum physics, which studies phenomena that occur at the subatomic level, has begun to be seen as a possible way to explain what happens in places like these. Although still an emerging field, some scientists have suggested that the missing houses could be connected to fluctuations in the quantum field, where subatomic particles behave in unpredictable ways, creating alterations in reality that affect human perception. In addition, theories related to electromagnetic fields have been proposed, which could have a direct impact on the human mind. Recent research has suggested that intense electromagnetic fields can induce hallucinations, alter the sense of direction, and cause feelings of paranoia, which could be responsible for the phenomena experienced in the missing houses. These fields can be natural, such as those found in certain geographic areas, or induced by human activity, such as proximity to high-voltage power lines or industrial facilities. Another promising area of research relates to the concept of place memory. Some experts believe that places with a tragic or violent history can become imbued with the energy of those events, causing unexplained phenomena that affect people who venture to those sites. This theory, which is inspired by the idea that places can store emotions and memories, suggests that disappearances may not be the result of external forces, but of people's interaction with the memory of the house itself. Finally, the mystery of the disappearing houses raises a number of philosophical and spiritual questions about the nature of reality and our understanding of the universe. Is it possible that there are parallel dimensions or alternate realities that are accessible only through certain specific points, such as disappearing houses? What implications would this have for our perception of time, space, and existence? Some spiritual traditions already suggest that the reality we experience is only a small fraction of what really exists, and that there are forces beyond our understanding. From a philosophical perspective, missing houses can symbolize the fragility of reality as we know it. If a place as common as a house can fade or be altered so profoundly, what does this mean for our perception of the world around us? This idea invites us to question the limits of what we think we know and to explore the depths of the mystery, of which the missing houses are only a manifestation of what we do not yet understand. Some spiritual currents maintain that the houses that disappear are related to the concept of doors, to other states of consciousness or higher dimensions. These places would not only be physical, but would be transition points between the known and the unknown, where souls or energies can travel from one form to another. For those who believe in the existence of realities beyond our own, the missing houses represent an invitation to explore these hidden worlds.